Hi there. So I'm Ksenia. I'm the executive assistant at Artbeat Studio, and I am joining you from Artbeat Studio in the Exchange District. We are on Albert Street, and while we are closed right now, generally we host a bunch of artists in residence doing amazing, amazing things. This workshop is brought to you as part of programming from one of Artbeat's other sites. So when there is not a pandemic, we run Studio Central, a community drop-in arts center located in Winnipeg's Central Park neighborhood on Kennedy Street, number 444. And we, at that venue, do workshops every day. We have a cafe area where we can just sit and chat, and open studio where you can work on whatever you want. Of course, due to COVID, we are not holding in-person gatherings there, but we have moved pretty much all of that programming online. So obviously I'm here to do a workshop today, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. One of us will be doing an artistic technique with you. If you're missing that cafe kind of feeling, you can join in on Tuesdays for a little online community meetup. That's done with Google Meet, and so you don't need to download any software for that, and it's free. You can email us for a link to that. And on Thursday, if you feel like doing a little bit of learning, we have art talks about a specific technique or artist or something to do with art, and then people can hang around and have a discussion afterwards. So you just also need to email for a link to that. And we would hope to see you at any and all of those things. In Artbeat, we believe in mental health being promoted through use of art, art helping us on our mental health journeys. And these workshops are just a way to engage our creative practice and have some connection and have something to do that is different from our day-to-day lives, especially when so many of us have to stay home. So we hope that that brings a little lightness to your day and a little fun skill building and or distraction. So what we are doing today is making some holiday ornaments. And one of my favorite things about this type of craft is that you really don't need very much to do it, and it can also be very personal to your own taste. So we're going to make some little balls, little baubles that you can hang in a window or on a tree if that's a thing you do, or just around your home. And so this is quite a simple one that we'll do. I've made this one white with blue sparkles because I'm all about the glitter today. And then we're going to also make another shape. I'm going to hold a piece of white paper up behind this, which was my plan all along. There we go, so you can see that better. And we'll talk about how you can use different colors and things with the same shape to create different impressions of your ornament and personalize it to yourself, and how you tend to decorate your home. So for this workshop, all we need is a paper towel roll or a couple of toilet paper rolls. If you're just doing the little baubles, you can actually get a few of them out of just one toilet paper roll, but we're going to do a couple things today. You'll need some paint. I'm going to use acrylic paint. It's not super high quality, expensive type at all. So it can be just whatever paint you've got. I would say that, yeah, any kind of craft paint. Watercolor is probably not the thing for this. But I mean, you can also color things with markers too. So again, super open. You'll need some kind of string or something to hang an ornament with. Should have a ruler of some sort. A pencil is good. Some brushes and water. I've got a glue gun here. Glue gun is the best kind of glue to use for this, but I don't see why you couldn't do it with white glue if you have a lot of patience. And any kind of glitter or beads, or I've got some beads in this little jar here. I've got some glitter glue over there that I'm excited to use. So again, very, very open. I tend to like to do these workshops that are use things that you probably have around your house already if you're a crafter, and that can be done by someone with any kind of really skill level or familiarity, so that you can participate in this with other members of your household if you've got young people around, small children, or just need something to take yourself away from the day. It's not a high pressure kind of thing. So I've really enjoyed preparing those little ornaments as examples. And I'm excited to do this with you today. And you're probably excited for me to stop talking and actually like do some workshop. So here we go. So I'm going to use my paper towel roll just because I can get more pieces out of it and it will just make my life a little easier. So the first thing we're going to do is divide this paper towel roll into smaller sections. So you can see that the pieces that I've pre-cut out, I've actually pre-painted. It's like a cooking show where they've already got stuff done. They're sort of in this little like almond shape. So you don't have to worry about keeping this particularly round. So I'm actually going to just like squish it already just a little bit. It's a very robust paper towel roll. And I'm going to line up my ruler with the end. So what I am using is actually the centimeters part of the ruler. I would recommend dividing it into sections of 1 centimeter or about ½ an inch. I think that's anything thicker is maybe like a little difficult to work with, but you do you. So I'm going to put a mark every centimeter. And part of the reason I'm lining up the edge of this cardboard roll with the edge of my ruler instead of with where the number 1 starts is because I actually want that little overhang at the end, because it's like a little bead up at the end. So that'll give me a little bit to cut off. So I'm just putting 1 line every centimeter. I knew I was going to start this workshop a little late today because I was doing like an online webinar situation. And then I sat down ready to go, and then the ventilation system kicked on. So you can hear it behind me, and I was like, I'll just wait like a couple minutes because it's sort of cyclical and it turns itself off, and it did not turn itself off, so I ended up starting my workshop even later, and I still have the background noise of that beautiful ventilation system. I also apologize if any of you are getting seasick because I am in a building in the Exchange District that's like 100 years old. Oh, there we go. No more ventilation to shout over, thank you. In this super old building with these like beautiful hardwood floors that are totally not even. And I've turned my table a little bit so that I can plug all my things in, and it's resulting in it being very wobbly. So I'm really sorry. Soon I will stop leaning on it and we'll stop having that problem. I hope. Okay, so I've done 2 rows of lines of 1 centimeter each, and now I'm joining them. So I went along the top of the roll and marked 1 centimeter, and then I went along the bottom and marked 1 centimeter, and now I'm just drawing a line in between them. You don't necessarily have to do that. Like if you can cut super straight lines and you just need like those 2 little ticks to tell you where you are, fantastic. I'm not that person. So I'm definitely a like measure and draw it out kind of person. So the one thing about these 2 crafts is that little bobble. Of course, you're not going to be able to cut perfectly round circles because we've had to squish the paper towel a little to draw on it. But if you can keep them rounder, it sort of does make a pleasant shape. Whereas for our other ornament, you actually want those like really pointy, spiky ends. So what I'm going to do is cut this into 2 pieces to start and squash one of them. And then we'll do all of our other little pieces. I'm sure this is like super interesting for y'all watching me draw 27 lines. But we're almost there. And 1 more. I'm using a pencil, you know, it's not the end of the world if you use something other than a pencil as well. As long as it works for you. Okay. Take some scissors. So our little bauble just needs 4 pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is this end is a little like rounder. I'm going to 2, 3, 4. Cut that off. Be very careful. I have this tendency to like hold this with my finger inside it. Maybe don't do that next to your sharp scissors. Be pretty careful how you do that. It would be a real shame if somebody had to go get stitches because they'd cut themselves with scissors, although probably you are all too clever for that. It's just a me problem. Okay, so I'm just sort of like re-inflating these a little bit. You know, not too scientific. Cool. And then this one, because it is going to be those spiky edges, I can actually use my ruler or use the corner of my scissors or just use my hand, which I will do because it won't shake the table. And I'm just actually like making that edge a super nice crease. And now we'll cut a bunch more pieces. So the fun thing about these is that they're not, you know, denominational. They can certainly be something you hang on a Christmas tree if that's how you celebrate. But we're actually going to do sort of a snowflake vibe today. So just like winter time in however you enjoy it. But I would like to say Happy Hanukkah to those who are celebrating. Starting tonight, I hope you have an extra wonderful 8 days. This project is like nice and methodical and slow. Quite meditative, which is a lot of fun. ASMR of cardboard being cut. 2 more. Hooray! Now we have a pile of pointy rings. So I put scissors away. I won't need those until the very end. And I'm gonna just put this pile over to the side here. So we're going to start with our bauble. I'm kind of going to jump back and forth in between the 2 ornaments, just in the interest of paint drying and glue drying and things like that. So bear with me. So we're going to jump into some paint. So I'm going to take my acrylic paint, and I've got like a teal and a dark green, and I thought I would know by now which one I wanted to use. And I don't, so I think I'm gonna go with green. Someone comment really quick and tell me what color to use. So I'm just gonna take my paint and put some in this little lid. You can use a dish, you can be fancy and use a palette. You're gonna want enough room to like spread this paint out a little bit. I might actually need a little more. So yeah, I'm gonna need a little more than that, I think. So the idea here is you're going to have a splash of paint that is slightly bigger than your circumference of your paper towel or your toilet paper roll. And what I'm going to do for this one, so the little bauble that I had made before, I painted white and I gave it some glitter and it's got like a little snowflake thing going on, and it's real cute. But this one I'm going to make a little more rustic, so you don't need to paint things all over. And this is where like your creativity can be whatever you want it to be. So I'm actually just going to dip the end in here, make a nice stripe. And then I'm going to put it aside to dry. So we're going to do each side. Just like a nice clean little green and brown rustic kind of vibe. So we're just getting that. I've got green paint on my finger, so now I have a green splotch elsewhere. Cool. She's dipping it in the hand that does not have a glove on it. is very silly. I should put my other glove on. I have this sort of hatred of wearing gloves unless I absolutely have to. But so gloves are like not mandatory for this by any means. But I did get covered in paint when I did those other ones. So just FYI, if you've got an extra pair of rubber gloves, that might be a thing you want to do. I highly recommend them being the right size for you as opposed to a little too small, because then it's awkward to put them on. But we're good now. Okay, I'm going to put my green paint just a little bit aside for a minute so that those can dry. So I'm going to plug in my glue gun. I'm so sorry about this table, y'all. Okay, glue gun is warming up. And then I'm going to do some pre-painting for this other shape of ornament. So this one I've made in the shape, well, or the shape can be whatever you want, but I've given it the colors of sort of a like poinsettia flower. I have these inner ones painted gold, and then these in between ones are painted like that nice teal green. And then I put a bead on it and put some red glitter over the gold pieces and some gold glitter over the green pieces. So this is like quite a Christmassy one, reminiscent of the poinsettia. I really want to make snowflake today, so that's partly why I had pre-painted some white ones before, just so that we don't have to wait for them to dry. And then for my other pieces, instead of green, I want to do like some blue and purple, I think. So for that bauble, like I said, you need 4 rings. For the other shape, as demonstrated here, you're going to need 18. So it's 6 for the middle and 12 for the sides. I think I might actually make a modification on this one and add some extras as a little treat for you to have a different thing than my example. Isn't that exciting? So I'm going to paint about, instead of painting 12 of them blue and purple, I think I will paint another 18 of them if I can manage it. So we're just going to have a nice little time of me chatting at you while I put some paint on some stuff. And this is where the gloves become a fairly good idea. I'm not being super precious about this. I should go through my videos someday and see how many times I tell you not to worry about like being precious about it, or how many times I say quick and dirty, because it's the kind of artist I am. But you actually do want to be pretty quick about this if you can, because you don't want too much paint to be like pooling on them, partly because it's going to take ages to dry. So if you're trying to sort of do this craft in one sitting, you want it to, you know, dry. But the other thing is, like I was trying this out earlier. Sorry, I'll actually hold them in view of the camera. Won't that be nice? And I used a paint that had sort of like the pigment was sort of separating out a little bit, so it was quite liquidy, and I had to put multiple coats on to get coverage. And it really does, like, you know, this is not the most robust cardboard in the world, so you don't want to make it too wet, because you will sort of start to get it warping or even disintegrating a tiny bit. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it would be like, you know, potentially a little bit difficult, but I see no reason why you couldn't do this with a marker. I'm always curious how people feel about winter, because I really like it in theory. By about February, I tend to be like really over it. But this year it's been so mild that perhaps I won't have quite those feelings as well. Like, I do sort of like the theory, the concept of winter, and I enjoy making these like snowflakey kinds of things. I think the aesthetic of winter and snowflakes is really quite lovely. Of course, as I've said a bunch of times now, I'm painting these ones as an example of what you can do. There's no law saying that you have to paint your cardboard tube to make a pretty ornament. Okay, so I've got my array of things all painted. I'm gonna put this blue paint aside. I'm going to dip the other side of my green ones. Don't want to forget about them. So dipping. A fun thing actually, I don't have any like loose glitter, but you could do this by, instead of dipping in paint, you could dip your edge in white glue, and then you could put your glitter in a little dish or a little lid, as I've got here, and then dip it in the glitter and get a really pretty sparkly edge from that. This one's like a little messy, but that's okay. Yeah, so got like this sort of green edge going on. I'm gonna take off my gloves so I can get paint on other things. So I'm gonna pull that off so it's inside out, fold it inside there, and then you can slide your finger under. You've got gloves, inside gloves, and you didn't get any extra paint on your hands. That's a laboratory trick as well. If you're cleaning things up that, you know, in this COVID era, that's a really sanitary way to help with that as well and keep it safe. But it's got great crossover appeal for those of us who work with paint and don't want it all over our hands. Okay, so the next thing that we get to do after all that painting is we're going to glue a bauble together. So again, this is my final aesthetic. So I'm going to take 4 of the slightly rounder pieces. These are the ones pre-painted from the other day. I'm going to make them a little bit more circular, and you're going to take one and slide it inside. So, doesn't have to be perfect right now. So you're going to take your glue. You're going to put a dot at the top of one of your circles. And you're going to put that in there. You know, try not to burn yourself, of course. Pinch it down. There. And then you're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Just a little dot. Hot glue is great, in my personal opinion, but as I said, if that's not something you have access to, but you have white glue, I don't see why this wouldn't work with white glue. You would just have to be like quite patient in holding it together. So that would be fine. Cool, and then you're gonna do another sort of crisscross scenario with this. So this one just needs a little finagling. So you're gonna slide that one on there, dotted glue at the top, dotted glue at the bottom. Take the glue gun, put a little dot right where those ones already cross over. And one more. Okay, you know, you're welcome to leave it there if you like, if that makes you happy. But I'm going to do a 4th. Might be easier. Getting the last one on there is like a little tricky because of course all these circles are the same size as each other. And you're trying to get one more to go around, but it's cardboard, so it's pliable. So it can happen. There you go. And then you just sort of scooch it back out of the way and put your dot of glue and then put it back where you want it. And of course, you try to do it without getting hot glue on yourself. Oh, like I just did, but luckily it's not super hot. Okay, and before I glue that last one, I'm actually going to, this is gonna like look awkward as I do it. My hands are gonna get in the way, but that's okay. I'm actually gonna cut some of my embroidery floss that I'm using. I'm cutting like quite a long piece. That's longer than I need. But I've got this one piece here on top that I haven't glued down yet. So I'm actually going to try to thread, being the operative word, to thread my embroidery floss through there so that it's captured within. So this is the kind of thing where like if I was in a Zoom meeting, I'd turn off my camera so that you couldn't see me struggling with it. Come on. If you have tweezers, this would be a great time to use them. See, with us at Studio Central, you always get like a very real person doing the art with their real struggles. So I've now threaded that through so that it'll be underneath. It only took like a full minute. This is going to be one of those workshops that you can maybe like watch at 1.5 times the normal speed. I'm just going to tie a little knot top there and cut off my little tails. Okay, and then I can put a dot of glue inside as well, just under where I've put that string. This one didn't really need it. It was stiff enough that it was sort of holding its own shape as it was. And this one also is a little different. So you'll see in this piece, I've crossed them in a different way, whereas this one is all going up to the top. So you can make those crisscrosses however you like. And then this is just like white, so just for fun, I'm going to glitter it up a little. And I've already done white and blue, so why not this bronzy, coppery color? So I'm just going to use some commercially available glitter glue. This is Dollarama glitter glue from a few years ago. So I don't know if they still carry it, but it's pretty quality stuff. And I'm just going to do like a light dusting of glitter. One of the things we can always remember is that glue dries clear, so you won't see my little zigzags in the end. You'll just see the glitters, which is kind of fun. And of course, like, you know, I think that the white is kind of wintry, so I'm into that. But nobody's saying that, you know, if these things to you are cute things to hang in your window, and you're going to use them throughout the year, you should do whatever colors make you happy. Okay. We'll give it a little squish down to make it a little rounder. We've got this sort of, yeah, round woven ball idea. So I'm going to put that aside for a second. We're going to check on our paint. So our blue paint is almost dry, which is fantastic. And how is our green paint? It's just about dry. Okay, so we're going to go on to making that other shape. So you're going to need 6 pieces for the center. I'm going to wipe this green paint off my fingers since I'm working with white. So 6 pieces for your central shape. So in the poinsettia, like for the flower part of it. And what you can do is you can, of course, like lay them out in a flower shape and try to glue them that way. That's great. I think it's a lot more work than what you need to do. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to put a dot of glue. You don't need too much. I'm going to put another piece next to it. Kind of squish them together. And remember, this is the one where we want those like nice pointy edges. So turn this way a little bit, so you can really squish them. And we're just going to keep doing that. So we're going to glue 6 together in a row. There's 3. There's 4. There's 5. Just keeping an eye on my hot glue. I have to put another stick in there. You can see we've got 5 here all together, and then I'm going to do the last one just right on top like a rectangle. 6. It's the last of my hot glue. Just put another stick in there to warm up. And then let's let that dry for a few seconds while I tend to this. Perfect. Oh, and it spoiled my surprise. So then we'll just open it back up And we'll glue those last two petals together and you get like a lovely centered shape. There we go. Beautiful. So I'm making a snowflake kind of vibe. So I'm going to take my blue pieces. I'm going to show you this one more time, the previous one. So these ones are actually going to get folded in half. So you're going to take your piece, you're going to make it nice and pointy at the ends, and you just fold it in half. You're going to put a little bit of glue that side and that side, and then you're going to insert it in there. So this is why I said, like with these blue ones especially, there is no need to be, or whatever color you're going to put in the in-between pieces, there's no need to be like super precious about it because we're just seeing mostly the edge and like a little bit of the outside. So it's one of those things, like so many things in art really, where I'm like, if it is soothing to you to cover every little bit of cardboard with paint and make it like the most beautiful even layer, then that's what you should be doing. But if that gives you stress, then like don't stress, just splash some paint on there. So we're gonna need 6 of these to go in that area. If I was clever, I'd be taking the ones that are further away from me because those were finished first and they will be just an itty bitty bit drier. But I did not think of that today. The other beauty of this project is like you get to decide when it's done. Maybe you just like just that sort of inner flower shape by itself. And I've actually seen like you could make a wreath with those flowers and that would be beautiful. Maybe you'll decide that after you've put like one little row of these accents in, maybe that's the shape you want and that's where you want to leave it. And that's also totally cool. This one has 2 pieces folded inside each other. Maybe you want to do 3. All of those things are super valid. So we're going to put that second row around now. I put slightly too much glue, so like that dollop, like that's more glue than you need. You really do not need very much. And again, with the hot glue, the beauty of it is that like as soon as I stick them together, they'll stick together. White glue can totally hold cardboard together. You just might need to be pushing them into place a little bit until it's had some time to dry. So the gluing process might just take longer for you, if that's what you're using. So I'm gonna put 2 here. And of course, you know, as I said, I made a poinsettia the other day. I'm making a snowflake now. Nobody's saying that you can't do this in like pink and orange and make a hibiscus flower, if that's what you want to do. So I enjoy that this little crafting technique can be whatever you want. This is going to end up being my longest workshop that I've taught yet, and most of it was painting stuff blue. So thank you all for joining me for that. This paint is just a tiny bit wet still, but it doesn't really matter, which is nice here. The pieces will still fold. So if you're impatient, that's also a great thing. Okay, cool. So this is where I left that example one. But what I'd like to do today to make this an even more intricate snowflake is I'm going to do the same thing with this blue one. I'm going to pinch it and I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to put the glue on it and actually insert it inside one of these sort of petal shapes to continue the vibe going around. Like frantically counting to make sure that I painted enough, but I did. So putting the glue again just on either side and sticking it into there. And this one, you can again tie that little string wherever you may want to. I just like tied it around that. I keep calling them petals because it's sort of flower shaped, but I just tied it around the end of the petal that I thought should be the top one. So it was not, you know, anything special. Here. And very last one. And that is my snowflake ornament. So as you can see, this one, this particular version used 18 plus 6, so it used 24 little slices of cardboard. A paper towel roll, if you're doing them 1 centimeter apart, you can get 27 out of it. So if you have a paper towel roll, you can totally make this shape. A toilet paper roll, you can get like 11 out of, I think. So you couldn't quite do the middle bit on this unless you left out one of the pieces on the side. And you know, like I said, you have the option too of like putting in a third one if you want to continue it further. So it really is up to you. The very last thing, I'm just going to finish the bauble with the green stripes that we started before. Green is a tiny bit wet still, so that's just something to remember if you're doing that sort of dipping technique. So remember, we put a little dot of glue at the top, slide the other one over, and a little dot of glue at the bottom, and slide it over. This one's getting, I had like a blob of green that I've like smeared. So maybe when this is all finished, maybe I'll put a coat of green on it, but don't worry, you don't have to watch. So for this last one that I did here, stand up please. I did all of the pieces going around it sort of like vertical, but I'm going to change it up. So like I kept the top as the top the whole time, but now this is my sort of top from before where I put the glue. I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to make that my new top, and then I'll get a crisscrossing sort of idea going on. So this one, you know, as I've mentioned, the green wasn't quite dry enough, so I am like fingerprinting it all over. So it might want more paint, but I hope that you can imagine if it wasn't messy, that just like the little stripe on top of the brown cardboard is quite nice, actually. It's very simple. So again, if you don't have paint or don't have much paint or only want to do it simple, I think it can still be like a really beautiful decorative thing. I would just, you know, highly, highly recommend that you give it time to dry properly. And then we've crisscrossed those pieces and put them on top there. So this one's like a cute, different little shape. It's got sort of the piece going through. It's a little more of a woven idea, whereas this is a up and down kind of idea. I think I prefer this one aesthetically, but you know, you get to make your own decisions. But isn't it funny how just like a little thing of like where you're crisscrossing some cardboard gives a different impression? If you've got any like gaps, you can always put another little bit of glue there, and then you would just tie that off. So I will leave you now. I hope that you've enjoyed having some chatter in the background and making some different ornaments and thinking about how those can be. But please do continue to stay safe. We really appreciate you joining us for these workshops and just participating in our programming. We miss seeing you in person. We very much, you know, hope that we will be able to do that again soon. Thanks for this like super clumsy workshop today. I had a lot of fun doing this craft. I really hope that it brings you some wintertime joy and smiles, and that you all remain safe and well. Thank you.